Welcome. This is talk 3 on the superior knowledge or prajna principle of the Buddhist teachings. My name is Gary Allen, and we'll continue with our third session. So first we'll do the chanting. So we'll begin the 7-line supplication to Padmakara. Home in the northwest of the land of Uddiyana, on a blooming lotus flower, you have attained supreme wondrous city. You are renowned as Padmakara, surrounded by a retinue, many Dakinis. We practice following your example. Please approach and grant your blessing. Guru Padma Siddhi Hum. Great Vajradhara, Dilo, Naro, Marpa, Mila, Lord of Dharma, Gampopa, knower of the 3 times omniscient Kamappa, holders of 8 and 8 lesser lineages, Drigong, Dakalung, Zalpa, these 3 glorious Drukpa, and so on, masters of the profound path of Mudra, incomparable protectors of beings, the Takpo Kagyu, I supplicate you, the Kagyu Gurus, I hold your lineage, grant your blessing. I will follow your example. Revulsion is the foot of meditation, as is taught to this meditator who is attached to food and wealth, who cuts the ties to this life. Grant your blessing so that I have no desire for honor and gain devotion. Head of meditation, as is taught, the Guru opens the gate to the treasury of oral instructions to this meditator. Continually supplicates him, grant your blessing so that genuine devotion is born in me. Awareness, body of meditation, as is taught, whatever arises is fresh, the essence of realization to this meditator who rests simply without altering it. Grant your blessing so that my meditation is free from conception. Sense of thoughts is Dharmakaya, as is taught, nothing whatever but everything arises from it. To this meditator who arises in unceasing play, grant your blessing so that I realize the inseparability of samsara and nirvana. My birth may I not be separated from the perfect Guru, and so enjoy the splendor of Dharma, perfecting the virtues. Paths and bhumis, may I speedily attain the state of Vajradhara. The Sutra of the Heart of Transcendent Knowledge. Thus have I heard once the Blessed One was dwelling in Rajagriha at Vulture, together with a great gathering of the Sangha of monks and a great gathering of the Sangha of Bodhisattvas. At that time the Blessed One entered the Samadhi that expresses the Dharma called found illumination, and at the same time noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, while practicing the profound prajna paramita, saw in this way. He saw the 5 skandhas to empty of nature. Then through the power of the Buddha, venerable Shariputra said to noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, how should a son or daughter of full family train who wishes to practice the profound prajna paramita addressed sway noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva said to venerable Shariputra, a son or daughter of noble family who wishes to the profound prajna paramita should see in this way, seeing the 5 skandhas to be empty of nature, form, emptiness also is form, emptiness is no other than form, form is no other than emptiness. The same way feeling, perception, formation, and consciousness are emptiness. Putra, all dharmas are emptiness, there are no characteristics, there is no birth and no cessation, there's no impurity and no purity, there is no decrease and no increase, therefore Shariputra, emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no perception, no formation, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no smell, no taste, no touch, no dharmas, no I dhatu, up to, no mind dhatu, no dhatu of dharmas, consciousness dhatu, no ignorance, no end of ignorance, up to no old age and death, no end of age and death, no suffering, no origin of suffering, no cessation of suffering, no wisdom, no attainment, and no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, since the Bodhisattvas have no attainment, they abide by means of Prajnaparamita. Since there is no obscuration of mind, there is no fear. They transcend falsity and attain complete nirvana. All the Buddhas of the 3 times by means of Prajnaparamita full awaken to unsurpassable, true, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the great mantra of Prajna Amita, the mantra of great insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, the mantra comes all suffering should be known as true, since there is no deception. The Prajna Paramita Tra is said in this way: Om Gate Gate Para Gate Para Samgate Bodhisvaha, the Shariputra, the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, train him the profound Prajnaparamita. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi. Praise noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, saying, Good, good, son of noble family, thus it is, O son of noble family, thus it is. Practice the profound Prajnaparamita just as you have taught, and all the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the said one had said this, venerable Shariputra and noble Avalokiteshvara, Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, that whole assembly and the world with its gods, humans, Suras and Gandharvas rejoiced and praised the words of the Blessed One. He who has neither beginning nor end, who possesses the glory of tiger, lion, Garuda, dragon, who possesses a confidence beyond words. May the goodness, I pay homage to the... We'll have to start again. He who has neither beginning nor end, who possesses the glory of tiger, lion, Garuda, dragon, who possesses a confidence beyond words. I pay homage at the feet of the Rigden king. They who possess wisdom, brilliant and profound, who are ever just and benevolent to their subjects, who subjugate their enemies and are supremely powerful. Golden yoke of their imperial rule, they ward off duns of plague, famine, and war. Gesar Nobudradal, Ashoka Maharaja, emperors, and China, and so on. I pay homage to the ancestral sovereigns, the ones who are nobly born as Mukbo clan to defeat the eclipse, eastern sun, and sharpen the blade of primordial Ashe. They are victorious over all their enemies, the voices of materialism, the tiger, lion, Garuda, dragon vision. They are fearless in the midst of barbarian arrogance. They tame the untamable beings. They inspire the savages sun into the sophistication of the great eastern sun. I pay homage to the Sakyong and Sakyong Wangmo, radiating confidence, peaceful. You have discipline, eternal ruler of the 3 worlds. May the great eastern sun be victorious. So we'll begin sitting practice. We take a good posture. And settle in to our bodies. Straighten our spines. Lift our chests. And let your shoulder blades sink down toward your waist. Raise up the crown of your head. Tuck your chin a little bit. Eyes are open. Gaze is down. Hands on your thighs. And you start out by feeling into your posture, so settling, attuning to your body, adjusting as you need to. And you direct your mindfulness to the breath coming in and out. As it organically moves, feeling a sensation happening in your body, flows in, flows out, sense of it going out, dissolving away. Might be a slight pause there, you're just being, and then it gathers inward again. You're feeling, you're being that breath as it happens. It's like the living pulse of the present moment. You settle with who and what you are. And who and what you are is an open-ended thing. Feeling a shift in textures and sounds, sensations, movement of the thoughts. It's all taking place in this big space of sitting practice. The breathing is, it's like this little flowing in and out that's taking place in the middle of this big space that you're in. The whole room around you, all the all the sounds, all the colors and forms, and the space beyond that. The rest of the building, the outdoors, earth beneath you, there's a total space that you're resting your mind in the midst of. That's the space of presence, space of wakefulness. There's nothing you have to do about it. When you relax and settle on your meditation seat, that openness just starts to be there. It's one big openness. Extends through the world all around you, accommodates everything. The furniture, the walls, the lights, the halls, people moving through them, this and that happening. And that same space pervades your interior mind. All the thoughts coming and going like fish in the ocean. There's nothing to go toward or get away from. It's all accommodated in that openness. More spacious and present you become, the more finely you notice even the minuscule moments of thought that are going on in your mind. Sometimes just these very tiny little flickers is movement of shadows almost. If you latch on to one of those little flickers, little impulses, then instantly you start to feed it energy. And very quickly it starts to grow into something, into a more developed kind of thought. And maybe it has some energy of emotion to it. It's like fuel starts to get going. One thought turns into another thought, turns into another thought. And suddenly it's like on the big screen. It's this epic thing going on in your mind. You get so lost in the movie, you forget where you are, what's going on, what you're doing. But sooner or later, there'll come a little moment of interruption, what we call a gap in the thought process. Suddenly the thought ends for whatever reason. Some sound, some movement comes in, interrupts it, or maybe it just sort of breaks off. For a moment, the mind is back. Suddenly, abruptly back in the present. That's the moment of awareness, of vipassana. The mind is simply present. There's no concept. And maybe half a second later, the next thought starts up. But right at that moment, the mind is fully present. So you recognize what happened. The mind is already back. You don't have to bring it back. You can say thinking and return to your breath. Breath is grounding, orienting, affirming. But the moment, the naked moment of mind, the egoless mind, just happened. You can't hold on to it. But you can notice that it has brought you back into the present. Fundamentally, the thought process isn't solid. It doesn't have any solidity if there is no assertion of grasping and fixation. Without that habit, then the thoughts are insubstantial, like rainbows or reflections, shadows, or clouds in the sky. So we'll bow. What we've been describing in these sessions is called the path of individual liberation. It's how to free yourself from the problem created through ego clinging and cling to a self, a projected self, which we try to maintain. And that process of clinging to that self is what generates samsara, or the wheel of confusion, wheel of birth and death. Wheel of karma, wheel of suffering. The fundamental activity of the ego is to maintain its existence, so that each thing is overlapping the next thing. You're unhappy about the chair you're sitting in, so you'd like to sit in a different chair, and as you're thinking about that, then you're looking at, a chocolate bar somebody else has and wishing you had that chocolate bar, and on your way to leaving your seat and trying a different seat to sit down in, and thinking about the chocolate bar, then you see somebody who, owes you $2, so you think to yourself, you've got to stop that guy, or you yell at that guy and you say, hey, you still owe me that $2. And all of that seems maybe like ordinary life, but we go about it at a subtle or gross level of reinforcing a sense of me in each step. I'm the guy in the uncomfortable chair. I'm the guy who deserves a better chair. I'm a guy who wants a chocolate bar. I'm the guy who wants his $2 back. So that is a central theme for samsara. The principle of prajna is seeing through delusion, seeing through the maintenance of ego to how it really is. The word in Sanskrit, prajna, jnana is to know. Pra means superior or best or highest. So highest knowledge, best knowledge, or we say in the chant we do, transcendental knowledge. Knowledge that goes beyond the normal conventions of egotism and samsara. When the Buddha sat under the Bodhi tree and confronted his ego mind for the final time. His discovery was a teaching called, in Sanskrit, Praticca Samutpada, or interdependence. And this arose in his mind as 12 links in a chain that made a wheel. In fact, wheel of samsara. This teaching was his. No one had ever described this before. And in fact, the whole idea of karma was a fairly crude thing. Karma and rebirth was a fairly crude, undeveloped thing before he showed up in India 26 centuries ago. But what he articulated was a way to understand how we came from a past life, how we become entangled or maintain an egotism in this life, and how that leads to a future life. And that's fundamentally what his prajna discovered. I'll just try to explain this somewhat complicated thing in a moment, but kind of the key understanding, beyond all the details of it, is that the ego has to continually reassert and re-maintain itself, because it's always in a state of collapse or dissolution, so it has to be reaffirmed, reprojected. But as in the example I started out with, that's always a kind of a slippery thing. And what's the word? You're just trying to, it's kind of almost you're trying to take advantage of any kind of perception or thing that's going on improvisationally. It's like, you go from the chair to the chocolate bar to the $2. What the mind is just grasping for these circumstances and trying to reaffirm itself, but it's not a steady self. It's always this shifting kind of a thing. And so when you talk about 12 links, nidana means link. It's not one thing. The whole journey of the ego is not one solid thread. It's this hooking of things together all the time that makes it seem solid, seem real, seem like one thing, one undivisible thing. Really good analogy for this is film. I guess it still works this way. You used to have these strips. Maybe they're all digitized nowadays, but and on the strip is a picture, a still picture, right? And then another still picture, another still picture, and you see the person. And then if you run them quickly, it looks like, there's a person doing something. But it's many things accumulated together that creates a sense of continuity. But there's always this constant sense that you've got to maintain it. You've got to continue as this thing, holding on to it, keeping it going, the big me in the middle of it all. Well, this is individual liberation. How is this individual liberated? by finally understanding how it works and stopping feeding the process. And all three of these principles we've been discussing, they all work together to do that. The quality of meditation is putting you there to see your mind as it is, creating these states of suffering, and giving you an understanding of how to start to dissolve that, to break through that. The discipline that you have working with your body, speech, and mind in your daily life is a way of extending that into activity. So beyond just avoiding negative karma and creating positive karma, you can start to cut through the whole issue of clinging to yourself, which is the real problem. And that is what is called in Buddhism ignorance, fundamental ignorance. But you need that quality of prajna, that quality of understanding to see through it, to see through your own delusion. It's often compared to waking up from a dream. You're in a dream and maybe great things or very dramatic or very nightmarish things are taking place. And then you kind of wake up and you see where you are and you realize that none of that was real. Well, what will it take for us to wake up from the dream of samsara, from our own grasping and fixation onto ego, onto me? Well, the process of that was described by the Buddha as the 12 nidanas, and so the first two nidanas describe the past life. And the very first nidana, the place where it starts, is called ignorance. That's the fundamental problem. And what is ignorance? It's clinging to a belief in me, a solid, continuous me that there's immediately an implication that it has to be maintained. But the problem is you're suddenly out of whack with things. You're not open. Remember the descriptions of Vipassana awareness, expanding, clarity, sees things with great precision, is a natural quality of mind. That's what's covered over by ignorance. That actually more relaxed and fundamentally at peace quality. So there's images for all of these that are symbolizing each of the nidanas. I don't know whether I should try to describe each one, but the first one is important, the blind grandmother. It's like an old lady with a cane who can't see, and she's just fumbling around and whacking at stuff, and she only has a kind of vague sense of what it is that she's relating to. That's the quality of being ignorant, of holding on to yourself primarily and being kind of focused on your own trip, your own maintaining your own quality of meanness. It's, if it were a natural thing, would you have to maintain it? And that's the thing you've got to start to see, is that there's this uncertainty going on all the time, out of which all of the rest of samsara happens. So there's that blindness, and the second one is called formation. And the image of that is a potter with a potter's wheel. You put a lump of clay on it and sticks his fingers in, and he shapes the clay into a form, a pot, and depending on how he puts his fingers into it and directs it, then you get that kind of shape. So, based on the ignorance, there's some development, some shaping, some direction that has happened. Some form has taken place that you become, that you embody in your previous life. And because of that, you've created a certain direction to yourself. You could have a style of a very passionate style, or a very ignorant style, or a very aggressive style. But whatever it may be, then you're prejudiced in that direction. You're heading that direction. So that in this life, and this is where most of the nidanas are described, 3 through 10. You're projected as a dualistic consciousness. The image of that is a monkey. It's in a tree, it's grabbing for some fruit. Right? We're always grabbing. So, depending on what kind of monkey you are, and what kind of tree you're in, you're grabbing for, appropriate fruit follows upon it. So there's a basic sense of consciousness, the grasping mind, the ego mind. And that's a sense of built up elements of ego. Sense of being, of subjectivity, of feeling and impulse and conceptual mind and a sense of consciousness. That whole thing is now present and in motion. And as soon as that is, born or conceived and comes to term, and you come out of your mother's womb, however that works, then you have that quality of consciousness, and now you're in a body. That's the next one. It's called 6 sense faculties, symbolized by a house with 6 windows. It just means you can hear, or you can see, you can taste, you can touch, you can smell, you can understand things with your mind. That's the 6th one. And because of that, then the objects of the world are perceived. Because you can taste, then there's something to taste. Because you can hear, there's sounds, as you can see, and so on. So that's the next one, contact. It's supposed to be a married couple, 2 things joined together. And because those 2 things join together, the ego, the kind of built-up sense of consciousness, now occupying the body, now relating the objects of the world. Oh, I want that. Oh, that's terrible. Oh, that's painful. Oh, I don't care about that. You start to get into this complicated relationship, and that complicated relationship is called feeling 7. And it's, the image of it is an arrow through the eye. So a guy's got an arrow in his eye. Oh, now you're having the experience of the world. You're contacting the world. And it feels good, or it feels bad, or it feels whatever it feels, but there's no getting out. You've made contact. And that's a compelling experience. It's so compelling then that you respond with craving. So somebody drinking milk and honey. Craving here means you either you reject the experience, you try to get away from it. Passion, aggression, rigidness. You try to get away from it. Oh, you love it. You're gonna want some more, or you don't care. You're indifferent. So, but the thing is, you're into it in the way you would be into milk and honey. It's it's taking you over now. And because of that, then you get grasping. You out of that comes things start to come to fruition. Some experience happens. You're in pain and you cry. You're enjoying it, so you want more. You're reaping the fruit of what you have sown. And then the 10th one is two people copulating, having sex, which means based on all of this coming together, then you get pregnant again. You're becoming impregnated again. The situation is now developing a further kind of fruit. That's this life. That's the ongoing interaction with stuff, and it's webbing it all into one fabric. We become engrossed in that whole thing, and just think now that could be anybody. Think of all the people you know. That's all of us. And all the different possible lives we could have, and all the different kind of experiences, good and bad, and all the great struggles and conflicts. It's kind of describing on a very essential level that, yes, here we are, we're kind of embodied as this thing, and now we're fascinated by our world, and we're struggling with it, we're conflicted with it, but and we're suffering for the pleasure and pain of it, and that is creating further things of that nature. So that when you get to the last two, birth, and that's a child coming out of the womb. Old age and death is a funeral procession. So in the future, because you're caught up in this whole thing, you'll be born again and you'll die again. And that leads you right around to the first one, which was ignorance. Because when you die, your consciousness is shaped into an ignorant consciousness. It's grasping, it's wanting to go on, it's propelled from what came before. So just as and then you're back in the next phase of that. And it just goes around and around. And you can't get out. Doesn't occur to you that you could even think of getting out. You don't even know about the process. You don't know about the past life. You don't know about the future life. You don't know how you're shaping the one you're in now. You don't know how it works. You don't know how these things are overlapping and trying to maintain this sense, which is fundamentally a way that you're maintaining your own suffering. There is a place within an Adonis, and this is the kind of place that you can start to cultivate in the sitting practice to begin with. It comes between feeling and craving, right? So you have here you are, the embodied consciousness, and because because you have these senses that you're easily clinging to, you have these experiences, you have some contact, hear something beautiful, or you see something beautiful, oh, I want to buy that. Well, you see it, impression comes in, and then you have a feeling, some kind of feeling. You know, let's say you're attracted to it. Or you think, that's ugly, that's horrible. Or you don't care, I'm not even going to pay attention. Passion, aggression, and ignorance. It's right in that feeling reaction before you start to act on them. You know, before it turns into you acting on passion, aggression, and ignorance, getting in the whole craving thing, you have just the feeling, the sensation of, you know, attraction, repulsion, neutrality, or indifference. It's right there that you can cut the Nibbana chain. Right there. As we've been describing in the sitting practice, that if you don't bite on the hook, if you don't take the bait, if it arises within your mindfulness and awareness, you stay, you keep your seat. And your mind does not get enwrapped in whatever that is. That is how the whole thing gets disrupted. It gets disrupted every time you see the gaps in it all. Now, in the most simple way we can think of this, you latch onto some little thing and it turns into this dominating thing in your mind. Well, don't latch onto it. Well, easier said than done. We have a great habit of latching onto it, so we have to cut through that. You have to free the mind from a tendency to grasp and fixate on its productions. This is what starts to screw up the whole process of karmic, confused, perpetuating suffering. So there's a very great need for us to understand how it all works. There's a great need for us to develop the discipline to work with our minds at this subtle level and to work with our lives at this subtle level. But the outcome of individual liberation is a quality of the body, speech, and mind being tamed. That is, they're not wild. They're called the three gates. They're these outflows, these expressions of samsara, how you fall into those craving states, how you fall into those deluded projections, how you're acting in a dream. And that dream fundamentally is holding on tightly to ourselves. But there is within us a mind, a more fundamental mind, a mind that is beyond conditions, beyond the overlapping tendencies of ego states. And that is what we're aimed at freeing by growing accomplished in the sitting practice. We are taming and clarifying who we are at the fundamental level by being disciplined in our body, speech, and mind. We are clarifying how we conduct our lives by coming fully into the true and complete and non-dual understanding of prajna. We are freeing ourselves altogether from the wheel of samsara, and that is the fruition of this path. So, discussion time. What do you think you might know about any of this process of past, present, and future lives, or just the process of falling into the delusion of consciousness, that of egocentric consciousness, and how that might be maintained, and how you might come to understand how to free yourself from that? How would that work for you personally? So discuss that, and then we will dedicate the merit and bow, and we'll complete the third session. Thank you. So we'll do the dedication of merit. By this merit may all attain omniscience, may defeat the enemy, wrongdoing from the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death, from the ocean of samsara. May I free all beings by the confidence of a golden sun of a great east. May the lotus garden of Erigdon's wisdom bloom. May the dark ignorance of sentient beings be dispelled. May all beings enjoy profound, brilliant glory. Let's bow. Okay, thank you, everybody.